So it's week 2 of server-side scripting with ASP.NET. We're in our Tuesday section. Almost everybody, so I had 35 of 38 people do the week 1 quiz, which is excellent, and all but 2 students have completed the academic integrity pledge. So that is great. We've had such good participation on those items. So what are we going to do today? We're going to do a little, have a little vote. Nope, there was no lab for week 1. We are going to have a really small lab today that you'll do after class. It will be due on Monday, but it's only going to take you a few minutes to do. Be really easy. There isn't actually an assignment called Lab 1, Krishna, so don't worry about it. I can hide that assignment in the gradebook so you won't see that. Okay. So if you want to know what's due, keep in mind every week in Blackboard, right, there's always going to be a checklist here. So that's so you know exactly what the expectation is for you over the next week. So if it's not listed in the checklist, it's not something you need to do. Okay, that's good, Marwa. Glad you're able to sort that out and come back. So what we're going to do today is we're going to plan out and set up the project that we're going to be working on in class each week. So we made a Visual Studio project last week. We're kind of throwing that one away, but the one we make today, we're going to work with every class moving forward. Okay, so we're going to set up the project with similar options that we did last week. And last week, we kind of played around with the built-in controller that Visual Studio gave us in our project template, the home controller. This week, we want to look at making our own controller. We're going to experiment a little more with controller methods. We're going to look at how do we pass in parameters and then use those parameters. And then we're also going to use a model object. We're not going to work with our database today, but we're going to mock up a model and look at passing some strongly typed data from the controller to the view and then rendering that in a view so we can see how the data moves from our controller to our views. I also want to introduce your semester-long project, so your 4 assignments, and I'm going to give you the first part of the assignment. We're actually going to do that now. Yeah, Marwa, I agree. I love that Microsoft has taken away a whole lot of this kind of make busy grunt work for us. And they give us stuff that we've got a working site right away. Save us time. Okay, so you do have you'll have 3 things due for next week. I know it sounds like a lot, but none of them are big. So we'll have a quiz again. You have until Monday to do it. You'll want to follow along with the lesson. You'll have a small discussion board posting, so I'll go over that at the end of class. And you'll have to have submitted assignment 1 for next week, but there's really no coding involved in any of this. Okay, so I will go over all of these requirements. So let's look at assignment 1 actually now. So you can find it on Blackboard. It's a very simple assignment. So there's a Word document here. You really just have to do 2 things for assignment 1. It's worth 5% of your final grade. So you're going to submit this document. You're going to fill it out. It's very short. It's only 1 page. You're going to submit it to Blackboard by next Monday at 5 p.m. Before you submit this document, though, you have to do something else first. There's a link here, and it's going to take you to the project submission website. So you're going to come to this site, and you're going to click on the Choose Your section. And you are going to pick the Fall 21 Tuesday section. Okay, because I got 3 sections of the course, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. So the idea of this little website that I've built using .NET MVC is I don't want any 2 students to submit the same project to me. And this is for a few reasons. Number 1, it reduces the chance of students working together. And number 2, it makes marking your projects a lot more interesting because everyone's going to give me a different project. Number three, when you go to show your project to a potential employer, if other students have applied for that job, they won't be showing the exact same work that you did. So the first thing you'll want to do is click on View Projects. Right now there are none. So let's say you decide you want to build an exercise tracker. If someone else has already submitted an exercise tracker, you're going to see it in this list, and you're going to see whether I've already approved the idea. So to submit your project idea, you just click on Submit Idea. You'll put in your student email and tell me what kind of website do you want to build. So for assignment 2, you're going to build a functioning website with ASP.NET and SQL Server where users can create, read, update, delete data. It is solo. So what can you build? Well, you can build anything you like. The only thing you can't build is an online store. The reason you can't build an online store is that's what we're going to build together in our lessons on Tuesday mornings. So for your assignment, you can't just take what we do in class and kind of make a copy of it. You have to build something else. So before you submit this document, as soon as you submit something here, the website will send me an email with your project idea, and then I will either approve it or tell you, no, this idea is no good. Well, thanks. Now, I know a lot of students like the idea, right? You have an idea, so what can you do for a project idea? My suggestion, I have a couple suggestions. Number one, build something that interests you. Krishna will talk about that in a moment, okay? So, if you like to cook, you can build a website to manage all of the dishes that you like to make. If you go to the gym, you can make an exercise tracker. If you play on a team, you might build a website for your team. Really anything that is related to an interest or a hobby of yours. Or many times I have students for this who build a project because they know someone who needs a website built. Like last semester, I had a student whose family ran a business selling car parts. So he created a car part inventory website that his family could actually use in their business. So the idea is you can build anything you like. So those are a few suggestions. If you're stuck, I know some people have a really difficult time coming up with an idea. If you have no idea what to build, so for example, I had another student in the last semester who emailed me and he said, I can't think of anything. And the student was from Turkey. And we don't have a lot of students in the program from Turkey. So I suggested to him, well, why don't you make a website about sharing things about your culture? Talk about where you have Turkish food, famous places to visit in Turkey. So he built sort of a whole tourism information site. So Krishna, the minimum functionality is basically a website where users can, yeah, exactly, Scott. The minimum functionality is where users can add, view, edit, and delete data. So I don't care what the data is. It could be foods, it can be exercise, it could be people, it could be car parts, it can be anything. You could build a music library, you could build book reviews, you could build comments of your favorite streaming sites. So really anything that either you find interesting or that you would think is useful, or someone a website where they can use it, so long as users can create, read, edit, delete data. Okay, but what the data is totally up to you. Krishna, does that help answer your question? Okay, so think of something that's interesting for you or that someone might actually use. So first you submit the idea on this site. I will approve it, or if I don't approve it, I'll tell you why. Once I've approved your idea, then for 5 easy %, you just put your name on the document, put in the purpose here, explain why it's useful. The other thing you have to do is create a new private GitHub repository and add me as a collaborator and include the link to your repository. Okay. Yes, Marwa, what my suggestion is if you have an idea for a great big website, you don't want to get carried away with this. Build something just to get started. So where originally people can create, read, update, delete data, you can always add extra features on, chat, other things you want to do. Like consider this kind of like a starting point to meet the requirements for the course, but you own it. And then, yeah, you can do more advanced stuff later on. Absolutely. Okay, so for right now, you don't have to build anything. You're just submitting basically the idea. So you're going to get your idea approved here first. Once I approve your idea, you fill out the document and submit it on Blackboard. So you'll need to submit your idea this week, wait for me to approve it, and then you'll need to submit this document by Monday at 5 o'clock on Blackboard. Okay, so we've already got one idea here. Okay, so this is kind of a, celebrity website. Okay, so it will automatically show as false. Okay, Attila, so here, let me show you this first. So Attila submitted an idea here. So I'm going to log into the site. And I can see Attila's project. Okay, so it will show as approved as false. So Attila, I'm going to make a comment here. I'll approve it, but it can't be a web shop. Because remember, we're going to build a web shop together. So I'll just go in here and say, I will approve it. You can do the celebrity site without the shop, because we will build a shop together. But some kind of like celebrity database where you can add, edit, delete celebrities and their info. Okay, so it's now approved. So you can't see whose idea this is, but you can see, okay, well, I can't exactly do a celebrity website because someone else has already taken this idea. Okay, yeah, where users can create entries for books. So kind of make a list like a Goodreads kind of website. Great idea. So I'll approve that one. And you guys, when I approve them, or you will get an email back saying approved or not. Modeling agency, great idea. Okay, so when you go to submit your idea, you can't submit an idea that's already in the list. You've got to do something else. As I said earlier, if you're stuck and you have no idea what to do, please email me and we can have a conversation and I can try to help you come up with a project idea that you're happy with. Okay, so don't struggle. I know some students find it challenging. It's a little, they want a little more direction on exactly what to do. So I will help you find an idea that you like. And yeah, I can see the ideas coming in. So I'll approve these as I get them. Yeah, great idea. So once I've approved your idea, then you can go ahead, create the Git repository, submit your document on Blackboard, 5% of the total grade, pretty easy. Okay, are there any other questions about the first part of the assignment? So you don't have to code anything, you just have to build a Git repository. Okay, thanks, Perlene. So this is due Monday at 5 o'clock, worth 5%. I expect. Anybody want to help Marwa out there? What does CRUD stand for? We're going to use that term a lot. You got it. Thanks, Shisato. Create, read, update, and delete. Nope. Mahir, you can call the repository anything you like. And I'll also show you today how you could create your project in Visual Studio and then generate and push the Git repository. Yeah, exactly, Scott. It's a huge part of the web. So you're building your own .NET application that can do create, read, update, and delete. So what the data is, you're creating, reading, updating, deleting, I don't really care. You just submit the idea on here to me. All right, all great ideas. Yep, so I can approve these. Recipe site, great. Job portal, great idea. Add, edit, delete, view jobs. Exhibition of expensive cars. Love it. Oops, I should say approved. Dog grooming, great idea. Yep, book an appointment. See a calendar. Yeah, expense tracker. So unless your idea is the same as someone else's, or I don't think it's feasible, I will likely approve the ideas. Okay, again, this one's okay as long as it's not a store. All right, so if other questions about the assignment come or you're looking at it after class, and there's something you don't understand, you need help with, just send me an email. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions, but if anything else comes up, then feel free to ask, let me know. Okay, so there's assignment 1. And then assignments 2, 3, and 4 will actually be the building of this project. So in assignment 2, which is not due for a while, you are going to use Visual Studio to create the CRUD functionality in your app. So it will actually load on the internet and we can create, read, update, delete data. That'll be assignment 2. Assignment 3, you'll be adding authentication. So users will have to register and log in order to create, update, or delete. They'll only be able to read data if they don't have an account. And then we'll add some unit testing functionality into the project at the end. That'll be assignment 4. So the biggest part of the assignment is actually assignment 2. And that's going to be due, not for a while. I'll go over assignment 2. Let's see, it's not due. Yeah, it's not due until Thanksgiving. So you'll have 3 weeks to do assignment 2. Why are we doing the testing at the end? Well, we want to have the application. No, it's not in a week. The API functionality is not going to be part of just the page version. API is not going to be part of it. Now we could do testing it. Basically because we're not going to do test-driven development. That sort of would be a whole course on its own. It's just beyond the scope of the course. So we're going to write the code and then look at the unit testing and quality assurance tools available to us later. Well, Elizabeth, the only thing, you do only have a week here, but the week is to submit your idea and put about 3 sentences in a Word document for 5%. So I think you can, hopefully you're able to do that without crying in a week. I think you can. All right. So what I want to do now, and like I said, I'll go over the assignment 2 requirements next week. So everyone will have submitted their ideas by Monday. That's awesome, Jennifer. And we'll go over the requirements for assignment 2 next week. You'll have 2 weeks to do assignment 2. So I want to start setting up our online store project today. But before we do, I'd like us to figure out what kind of online store do we want to build. So we're going to do this together in class. We'll work on it each week. I'm open for some suggestions. If we're going to build an e-commerce site together, what do you want to sell? All right, thanks, Yulia. So I'll put some options in here and then we can vote. We could build a candy store. That's cool. All right, we could build a travel store. So shop like vacation packages, video games, books. All right, you know, I'm gonna add a few that I haven't had before. I haven't had some great suggestions. I can't add them all, but so we can say bikes. Or furniture. All right, that's a. All right, Amar, that'll be our last one, or groceries. All right. Scott, it is hard to find a good belt buckle store. Whoops, let me clear those responses. Okay. Okay, so you can see on my screen. Yeah, it might be a little, socks would be good. So you can see the URL. So go to https pollev.com/richfreeman521. We'll probably do a bunch of polling through the semester. So go ahead and vote. You can also vote by text message. So what online store are we going to build? Get your votes in. And we'll see what comes out ahead. So if you haven't voted, make sure you vote. Jesse, that's true. We could probably make, I think we can make any of these work. Have to think a little bit about how I structured the database. Yeah, I mean, groceries is product based. But I think we can still do it either way. Yeah, we could set things up like packages. When I think about an app like Expedia, you know, we could choose, you know, you can choose a flight, you can choose a hotel, you can choose a package. So we could probably make it work either way. Yes, the groceries is a little simpler. Yeah, that could be a category. All right, so it seems like, oh, you already did a grocery store in Java. Okay, so some of you did, some of you didn't. All right, so it looks like we're building a grocery store. Well, Yulia, we could make it the world's most interesting grocery store. We've got a very international class. We got students from around the world. So I think rather than selling, like boring Canadian groceries like milk and eggs and things, yeah, then we want it to be, that's what I'm thinking, an international market. Because we've got such an international class, students from everywhere. So we should sell things from everyone's home countries. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of exactly, Scott. That's what I'm thinking. Are there? How many kinds of bagged milk are there? Okay, so let's fire up Visual Studio. Of course we can sell sauce. So we're going to make a new project, and we're going to use the same options that we set up last week. And then actually, as soon as we set up the project, I'm actually going to show you how we can get the project up on GitHub to create the repository for us. And you can do this with your assignments. I'm going to click on Create New Project. I'm going to pick the same project template as last week. And again, you'll use the same template in your assignment. So we want the ASP.NET Core Web App Model View Controller. So I'm going to pick that same option. It also shows up here in the recent project templates. You can pick it from up here as well. Click Next. So we need a name for our grocery store. I don't know, you can call it anything you want. You could call it blah blahs. That's awesome, Jesse. I think I'll call, I'm gonna call mine, in Pascal case, GlobalGrub. But you can call your project whatever you want. Just make sure there's no spaces in the project name, whatever you call yours. So I'll call mine GlobalGrub. I'll click Next. And I want to pick the same options as we did last week. So our target framework should be .NET 5. I want to change the authentication from none to individual user accounts. We're not going to use this yet, but we're going to start using this around week 6. So it's important we choose this option now. Again, we're going to configure for HTTPS. So the same 3 options we picked last week: .NET 5, individual accounts for authentication, and HTTPS enabled. When that's all ready, I'm going to click Create. So we'll let Visual Studio do its thing. Our project is going to look identical to the project we created last week. So if I go to my Solution Explorer, we've got all the same folders. So how do we get the project running? How do we start the local web server, load the project in the browser? Yep, we'll go to Debug. And we will start it without debugging. So this is probably what we'll do every class. Thanks, Marwan. Hawa. We'll open up this project and we'll click Debug, Start Without Debugging. We'll get this security warning, which we are going to accept the risk and continue. Again, it doesn't like our self-signed SSL certificate. It's no problem. We know that it's safe. So I'm going to accept the risk and continue, and our site's going to load. So this time it's got the name of our project up here, GlobalGrub, up in the header, with our privacy and home views and the register login, all the same template stuff we had last week. Now, before I make any changes at all, I'm actually going to show you which project platform. So the project template is ASP.NET, MVC, or ASP.NET, or web app, MVC. Yep, thanks, Alex. You can hit Control and F5. Or if the debug menu just isn't there, you can close the project and try reopening it. That worked for a number of people last week. So before we make any changes, yeah, sometimes people just had to close the project and reopen it, and then the option was there. So before I make any changes at all to this, I actually am going to put the project up on GitHub. So I can use Visual Studio to make a new repository and automatically push. So this is super easy. I can go to the Git menu. I can choose Create Git Repository. Now, I'm already logged in to my GitHub account through Visual Studio. You probably won't be yet, but there should be an option here for you to log in to your GitHub account. And Visual Studio will then subsequently remember your credentials. So I'm going to create a new repository. I'll call it GlobalGrub. You can make your repository should be private. I'm going to make mine public so everyone in the class has access to it. By default, it should default to private repo. You can leave it. Through the Git menu, create Git repository. So I'll put in a description. So this would be COMP2084 Fall 21 Tuesday in class store. And then if I just click create and push, this is going to create the new repository on GitHub and upload all my code. And it shows the URL right here. So all of the work we do in class through the semester will get pushed to that repository. So I'm going to click create and push. There's a little Git window here. It says I have 2 outgoing commits. It's now pushed. And if I go back to my GitHub, here's my new repository, updated 17 seconds ago with my starter project. So you could actually do this in your assignment. You could set up a new project for your assignment and use Visual Studio to actually create the repository. And then you're just going to include this link. Actually, you'll have to give me access to it. So you'll go to settings and manage access. And then you'll just put in my GitHub username. Doesn't show me because I'm in my own account. And that'll send me an invite and give me access to your repository. Alex, what happens? What options do you get under Git?
What happened for me is that it didn't allow me to create, when I pressed create a new repository, it didn't show me options because I was already logged in, and it just created I don't know how it created a repository like that I didn't ask for it. It says like I have like 612,000 changes. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
I think it kind of took my documents or something as the repository.
Right.
I don't know why.
Right. So what I would check, what I would do is this, Alex. In Solution Explorer, if you right-click your solution, this item at the very top here, if you choose Open Folder in File Explorer. This will
Let
open the
me just see.
directory in Windows.
Wait a minute. Open folder in File Explorer.
Yes.
I'm doing right.
That's
Yes.
right. So what folder is your project in? What's the path to it?
It's more or less the same as you, just my user.
Okay, so the issue probably is you probably have a .git folder higher up, like at a higher folder. So
Yeah.
Git's watching. So Git is initialized not in here, but this .git folder is somewhere like up here. So that's why it's got hundreds of thousands of files. Like you may have a .git folder even right in the root of your C drive. So if you go down, if you check here, if you see a .git folder like in your C Windows drive, you'll want to delete it.
Okay, so I just delete the one that I have there.
Do you see a .git folder in here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
inside
yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
delete that .git folder. That's why.
Okay. Let me just go and delete it.
Okay, thanks
And
for that tip, Marwa.
then what do I do inside of Visual Studio now?
So then come back to Visual Studio.
Yes.
Try Git again.
Let me just give me a second because it's not responding Visual Studio at the moment.
You may have to close Visual Studio and reopen it.
Yeah, it's just not responding at the moment. I'm gonna restart it.
Yeah, so once it comes back open, I'll just show you, Alex, on my screen. If
Yes.
again, you right click your solution in Solution Explorer, there should then be an option that says add to version control or add to
Okay.
source control. That should then reinitialize Git in your project.
Okay. I'm reopening right now.
Okay. So I'm gonna make, it's under the debug menu manager, debug, start without debugging. So I want to change some of the text on the home page. I want to get rid of this text, save the change, and then I'm going to upload my change to GitHub. So what file would we go to? Where would we go to change the text that shows up on the home page? Close, Jesse. It is index.cshtml. Yeah, it's in views. The view is called index. So where do we find it? Where inside of views would that be? Yeah, views and home. Thank you. So here's our index. Here's our site homepage. So I'm going to change some of the stuff. So welcome to GlobalGrub. And then I'm going to put in my own description. Tuesday in class ASP.NET Core project. So I'll put a description of what this site is. I'll change the title up at the top as well to just say, welcome. So now if I go back to the site, I should get a different homepage. I should get this content instead. The other thing I can do is I'm going to put a link to the GitHub repository. So I want to open up my footer. I want to include a link to the source code in the footer. So which file would we go to do that? Oh, and I'll just set my target equals blank. So it's just a regular anchor tag. Yep, thanks, Jackie. We're going to go to the layout, and I'm going to add a link to the source code. So if I go to views and shared, if I open up my underscore layout, after the privacy link, I'll maybe put in a dash. And I'm going to put a link to my GitHub repository here. So my Git repository is going to be at github.com/ my GitHub username / GlobalGrub. If you push to your own GitHub repository, you'll want to put your own GitHub username and the name of your project. You may have called it GlobalGrub, you may have called it something else. Okay, so I've added this code. The layout file is in views and shared. You can see it here in my Solution Explorer. Okay, so I've added the code that I've highlighted to line 41. Again, you should use your own GitHub link to your own repository. So I'll just test this link out in my browser, and if it works, then I'm going to push these changes to my Git repository. Right, so I've now got a source code link, and if I click it, it opens a new browser tab with my files. So I've made these changes locally, but I haven't pushed this new change to GitHub. If I go and look in my Git repository on shared and in the layout, you'll notice it doesn't have my view source code link. It only has the original footer here. So how do you suppose I might upload this change to GitHub? Yeah, we'll push. So where would I go to push it? Yep. I can run a Git push, so I could use the Git menu here. Or I also have Git changes. I have this little Git changes window here. So it wants me to put in a message. So I'll put in lesson 2, part 1, and we'll say, what did I do? Add Git link to footer. So I'm going to put in a description of what changes I made. And then I can click this little drop down and choose commit and push. So this will make a new commit, and it will sync my changes up to my GitHub repository. So it created the commit, and now it's pushing the code to GitHub. Tells me that was successful. If I go back to my browser, it's under this Git changes window, but you can also get it here. I think if you turn on view and Git changes, that will add this window over here. So now I'll go back to my repository. And now instead of 2 commits, there are 3. And it shows me the new commit that I did 33 seconds ago. So I can start to see the history of my project. So each week, as I push more and more changes to GitHub, you can see what's been done in each lesson. And I'll typically prefix my comments with what lesson number it is. Yep. So to turn it on, I've got this little Git changes window here. If you don't see it, if you click on View and Git Changes, that will open that window. If you are not logged in, if you go to the Git window and GitHub, or the settings, it should be through the Git menu. There should be the option to log into your GitHub account, Carleen. So it should prompt you here to log in if you use the Git menu. But you'll only have to do this once. Your Git login you'll stay logged in moving forward. So you won't have to log in each time. Okay, so we've created a new project. We've connected to our GitHub account and pushed our code. So that way we also always have an online backup of our work. So we should be in the habit of uploading to GitHub regularly. Okay, Yulia, did you enter a commit message? The commit button will be disabled until you enter a message. Yulia, try making one more change in the code. So add something else to the layout file or the home page and save the change. You may have to make another commit before you can do it. And again, if you don't see the Git changes window, you can turn it on through View Git Changes. That will make this window available. Yeah, and you will need to confirm. You may get a pop-up asking you to confirm your GitHub username and email. Thanks for that, Nat. Okay, it is 11:52. So we're going to take a pause here. And I will stop the recording. Everything we've done so far is in my Git repository. So you can check any of the changes here if you need them. And we will take a break and we'll come back in 10 minutes.